Welcome back to our second episode of Finance Bro. I am Jimmy and with me is my partner Simon.
Hello.
Today, we'll talk about the two strategies employed by the affluent to build and sustain their wealth. So in our previous episode, we talked a little about how millionaires build their wealth based on four simple strategies, and one of them is to build multiple streams of income. Just in case one income fails, the other can take over. And this is what we call the passive income.
That's right. I think this episode will be a little bit more interesting. Okay, we talk a little bit more on that. Okay, and when we visit, I personally visited one of my client who is retired. He's about probably 60s. He owns his own business, and right now what he's doing is basically traveling around the world with his wife every month. So recently I visited him. Right, he told me that he's going for this cruise down the Changjiang River in China.
Okay.
It's like 14 days, 14 days, 14 nights. And then just two of them, just enjoying life, and then in May, probably they are going for Croatia trip, all that. I think that's the best part, I think, for any one of us, when we are probably that age, and then we can just really enjoy our life with our loved ones. So imagine one day, when you decided to really stop working at all, and probably that's about 60s, just like the uncle, and you decided to celebrate the first month of retirement with your loved ones, and you go for a very good Europe trip and just want the best experience, the best shopping, the best accommodation, and you don't care about how much money you spend, okay? And when you come back from the Europe trip for a month later, and you look at your bank account and you realize that, another 20,000 comes to your account. How good can that be, man? So just to back to this reality, so we are still working, we are still young, right? We are still trying to do our best in our career. Okay, we want to discuss how to rebuild our passive income while we are still very young, okay? And this passive income source can come in many, many ways. Okay? It can come from a dividend from an investment, it can be from a rental, and it can be investment from other business enterprise. Okay, so other business enterprise meaning that probably you have gained a big sum of money and you're not sure where you're going to use it. So you try to use this money to gain more from there. So you probably be a investor to other company, okay, investor to a startup, okay, and of course it involves risk as well, right?
Yeah, so I guess the whole story about this client of yours sounds very cool. But I guess many of us also want to see if we can do it much earlier than retirement,
Definitely.
because every time when you travel, you start to get an account, or if you're spending a lot of money. And if you have a family, going overseas for a holiday would mean naturally looking at just the tickets for lodging and even air tickets is already going to cost you a bomb. So a lot of people would be very concerned about spending a lot of their savings just because they have to take a holiday trip. Yeah. And so this is one of the strategies that how affluent people build and sustain wealth. Spending on investment returns versus spending on active income. Many affluent individuals prioritize reinvesting a portion of the returns, allowing their wealth to still grow exponentially over the time. This allows them to build out their wealth through investing and spend on the dividend that the asset generates over time. So just by looking at the most simple investment, S&P 500 is a commonly well-known, raved about investment avenue.
Yep.
The average return annualized between 2003 to 2023 is about 10.2%. And so by simply setting aside a percentage of your salary into S&P 500, you're probably going to get interest of 10.2%.
Right. So if you want to put things into Singapore context, right, Singapore companies listed in the market do pay dividends as well. So if you really want good companies that pay good dividends, then you can invest in something like blue chip companies such as banks. In Singapore, banks are very, very stable and they often pay good dividends as well. And all Asians love property, right, Jimmy?
Yep.
Yeah. So you will find people have some dreams and inspirations to own multiple properties so that they can collect rental income. Okay, but of course, having multiple properties to begin with, it has a lot of limitation. Like, the ABSD, whether we have capital to down pay the property and this and that. Okay, but sometimes we just need to look for a very simple solution. It's just to own REITs, right? REITs is something that we want to branch more in the future episodes. Okay, we want to talk a little bit more on that. Okay, but just to show you how 5 years average dividend yield of REITs is, it was 7.1% on the 31st December 2023. And by by owning a REIT, basically it means that you'll just own multiple properties without all the limitation, without you being taxed on, without you having any tenant to bother you, without replacing all the aircons and this and that. And they have a good strong fund managers to hold, or the REITs, the property managers to help you manage the companies. And it's not, but last but not least, okay, good dividend funds are in the market. Okay. Those, I think we have some few companies in insurance in line. Okay, they give good dividend funds. Okay, it can go up to 8% per annum of dividend, and this can be one of the ways you get your passive income, right? Just to diversify your whole portfolio, not all on equities or just on properties.
Yep. So the second strategy is what we call the delayed gratification. While it's tempting to indulge in immediate pleasures, the affluent often adopt a mindset of delayed gratification. And delaying gratification is a key principle in personal finance and can contribute to long-term financial success.
Yeah, so there are 10 practical tips that we want to share in this episode about delay gratification and how it plays a role in the financial journey. Okay, the first and the most important, okay, it's building on your emergency fund. Okay, in paper, we always see 6 to 12 months of expenses. Okay, basically, I think everybody is different in a way. So for me, what I will do is that I will put at least, I will put 50,000 in my bank account at least. Okay, because I have a daughter and I have a family and I have a house. So I just calculate I need 1 year plus of these expenses at least, especially if you are self-employed. So how about you, Jimmy? So how much do you really save it in the bank just for emergency fund?
So I guess for most people, if you are having an iron rice bowl in the public service, for example, if you don't do any silly stuff, you're probably going to have a rice bowl for a good long time. In that case, you probably don't need as long as maybe 12 months. Perhaps 3 to 6 months is good enough. But for a lot of self-employed people like ourselves, even business owners, you might want to just put in a bit more, especially after the pandemic in 2020. One
Right.
see that economy recessionary period can last more than 6 months, and if your business is impacted right away,
Right.
and you don't have enough to buffer in, it might have to come to a full, right? So I guess more is better, but not just saving blindly.
Right. Yeah. So emergency funds basically acts as a financial safety net lah. Just in case got retrenched or in a financial crisis, you just need to sustain your business. You need to pay your employee. You still have some things in your bank account to sustain you without going into debt. Okay, that's the first point, emergency fund. The second is to invest in long term. After I can't remember when crypto market starts to pick up, people are going in fast and coming out fast. Right, so people are thinking, if I put in $1,000, can I turn in $2,000 tomorrow? Yeah, so this is some unexpected expectation. So investing long term is always the key in terms of wealth accumulation. Okay, and patiently allows the investment to grow over time, and we make use of the wonder of compounding interest. So it's more lucrative in that long run. I think I read somewhere in this article, it shows that if you are invested in the market for 1 year, the upside potential is 40%, but the downside is also minus 40%. Okay, I think this can be really seen in 2022 and 2023 market lah, when everything just dropped lah. Okay, everything dropped, whether it's equity, whether it's bonds, whether it's crypto. The only thing that goes up is COE and property prices. Yeah, but other than that, all drop lah. So if you invested in probably end of 2021, then you will see a big drop in the 2022 market up to 2023. And things start to pick up better right now. So what we should advise is always doing long-term kind of planning. You do dollar cost averaging. Whether the market is good or bad, you just need to just invest in the same amount. Right, yeah, and just ignore all the noise and just invest, right? So that's the second thing, invest in long run. The third and is the not so common thing that people want to do it is about education and skill development. Okay, the main thing about education and skill development is about career progression. So you just want to enhance your skill, you get more education, you can have you probably not get the immediate returns, but in the long run you never know. This can be one of the values proposition you can pitch to your future employer that I can command a higher pay. So with more pay, more income, then of course you can do more things. Whether you want to save more, whether you want to do more stuff, invest in more, you also can do that. So that's the third one, education and skill development. The fourth one is to avoid impulse purchases. Okay, whether we sometimes I do that lah. Sometimes I just see maybe I should just buy it and then YOLO. So this one you have to resist a little bit. Okay, you might want to assess whether is it a need or just a want. Okay, and unnecessary debt is not really good in maintain a very healthy position in the financial things, right? So that's the fourth, avoid impulse purchase, and the fifth is to pay your debt. Okay, we don't want any high interest debt. Okay, especially credit card and personal loan. Good debt such as mortgage loan, all that is still okay. Okay, but we just try to choose your debt properly. Okay, mortgage debt is good. Other than that, try not to touch it. Okay, so maybe Jimmy continue the next five.
Okay. Yep. So the next one is home ownership. So I guess it's to save a substantial down payment before buying a home can lead to a lower mortgage payment and less interest paid over the lifetime of the loan. So if you can do a lot more planning in advance, you don't have to take as much loan, they're probably going to reduce a lot of your interest damage over the time. And this also requires delaying the excitement of home ownership until you're actually financially prepared, which is also part of how some of these wealthy people build their assets. Yeah. And the next thing is what we call retirement planning. Starting to save for retirement as early as you could, consistently contributing to maybe such as CPF for that purpose, and even when retirement seems distant, it is an example of delaying gratification. These ensures a more comfortable retirement lifestyle in the future. I guess one of the things that most people put off is retirement planning, especially if folks who are very young.
Right.
This is probably the last thing you're actually gonna think
Yeah.
of. So.
Probably when you graduate from school, you should start thinking about retirement planning.
Yeah, you should probably start retirement planning from the day you were born, but because you cannot do that, so you probably want to kickstart when you first get a paycheck. Yeah. And the next one is what we call budgeting and prioritizing. I guess creating and sticking to a budget involves delaying the gratification of impulse spending and focusing on long-term financial goals. Prioritizing needs over wants helps in achieving financial stability. It's easier said than done. Look, everybody's going to be emotional. You have festive seasons, you have CNY, Hari Raya, you have your Deepavali. Every time there's a festive comes around, you'll be thinking, you know what, it's just once a year. I might just enjoy for a bit, indulge myself a bit. But I guess and a lot of these shopping platforms that make things a lot easier, like, especially on social media, you're targeted. If anything, we are more targeted than our parents' generation.
Right.
To a point where every little thing you search is constantly advertised and thrown in your face. It's very hard for you to really steer away from this temptation. One of the small tips that I've learned over the time was that if you want to buy something on your shopping platform, cut these things out for a while. Let it be there for 2 weeks. If after 2 weeks you still feel like you need to buy, then that's probably going to be a need rather than a want. Yeah. And moving on the ninth would be our entrepreneurship and business building. Entrepreneurs often delay immediate profits to reinvest into their business for long-term growth. This may involve sacrificing short-term gains for potential greater success in the future. A lot of business owners are known to not break even in the first initial year, but many entrepreneurs are actually taking out money too soon than they should really,
Right.
and not buffering enough, safety net, and obviously investing it into growing the business and the company. This can lead to quite a painful fall,
Right.
if it does happen. Yeah. And on the 10th, saving for large purchases. Rather than relying on credit card for significant purchases, delaying gratifications involves saving more money over time to make large purchases without incurring debt or paying interest. So in essence, delaying the gratification in various aspects of financial decision making contributes to building a solid foundation for finances, achieving long-term goals, and ultimately attaining financial success.
Right. So we talk about delay gratification and about all these tips. So how should we allocate our income? How much to put inside or what you need, how much to invest, how much
Spend
to
first, then
also
invest.
Then you will always be not high net worth. So I think what we have gone through with our clients is that we just want to allocate just to make sure that every month they have some money that's allocated for investment, allocated for what they really want to spend on. Okay, so this is our tips. Okay, our budgeting rule is always 50-30-20. Okay, 50-30-20, and this is how it goes. 50% is spent on your needs. Okay, so needs means all the essential needs lah. Like, if you have a house, there's your mortgage. If you have house, you have your utility bills, your groceries, transportations. Insurance is very important. Insurance is one of the needs as well. And of course, other necessary expenses, like your allowance to your parents. If you have wife, allowance to your wife, stuff like that, right? So these are non-negotiable, and 50% should be set aside. 50% of income should set aside for all these needs. All right. And 30% to your wants. If you work so hard, right, and then you don't buy what you like, then what's the point of working? There's no point, right? Yeah, you just been working, and then you just enjoy retirement. So 30% is just on your wants. Okay. You can spend on omakase, sometimes you spend a little bit on omakase, travels, your hobbies. Recently, I met a lot of people collecting guppies. I'm not sure you heard of that.
Guppies.
They breed guppies. Last time I know it's the daqiayu.
Beta.
Yeah, the betta fish, but now it's guppies. So last time I catch guppies in the drain. Okay, but anyway. so these are yeah, so 30% is your wants on your hobbies and your lifestyle choices, right? And then of course the most important 20% is to savings and investment. So we don't really see people saving 20% up for investments, honestly. Because if you are earning like $10,000, which means $2,000 should be inside investment. Some people don't really want to sacrifice that part. Okay, so 20% to investment and savings, okay, that contributes to your emergency funds, which is your savings account, your retirement account, and your other investment vehicles. And this is very crucial for building your wealth and securing your futures.
Yep. So these are just keep in mind that these percentages that we just mentioned are general guideline, and you may need to adjust them based on your individual circumstance. If you're younger, you don't have a family, you're probably going to be able to spend a lot lesser, save a lot more.
Right.
So the 50, 30, 20 can be entirely swapped. It can also mean looking like you're going to save as much as 50% of your income, spend only 30% for your basic needs, and then your last 20% is catered for savings and investment. So like we say, it's purely based on each lifestyle, life stages, and circumstance. So it's also essential to regularly review and adjust your budget based on the changes in income, expenses, and financial goals. Ultimately, the key is to strike a balance that aligns with financial goals, meeting your immediate needs and having a reasonable quality of life, while actively working towards building a brighter future for your wealth. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us today as we discuss the two strategies on how affluent people build and sustain their wealth. If you like what we have shared, don't forget to subscribe for more episodes that unravel the mysteries of wealth. And as always, keep striving for your financial goals. Until next time, this is Jimmy and Simon.
Bye-bye.
Signing off.